Compared to previous years, Google has hit the brakes on acquisitions in 2015. While that's not to say the company hasn't made any that would be silly, the amount Google has spent to pick up other companies is decidedly lower this year than at any point in the past 6 years. As reported by Business Insider, Google has only spent $250 million on acquisitions for the first 9 months of 2015. And none of the acquisitions the company made were big enough for Google to then have to separately disclose the specific transactions. According to Google, however, this pattern doesn't appear to be all that big of a deal. Acquisitions by their nature are inherently lumpy and don't follow neat 9-month patterns, a Google spokesperson told Business Insider. Nevertheless, Google's activity in 2015 is quite a bit lower than previous years, whether there's simply nothing Google is interested in throwing money at right now, or whether Google is actually tightening up the purse strings a little bit in the wake of the company's big transition over to its new holding company, Alphabet. In the same time period last year, Google spent $1.1 billion on non-named acquisitions, in addition to $2.5 billion to acquire Nest, $517 million on Dropcam, and $478 million on Skybox Imaging. In other words, it spent more on a few of its single acquisitions than the company has spent so far this year on all of its acquisitions. And looking back into previous years, Google's pattern for acquisitions has still tended to be a bit throw money at it. If you take a look at the acquisitions Google made in the first 9 months of every year dating back to 2010, the company still ended up spending $369 million in non-named acquisitions in its lowest year 2013, which also saw Google supplementing that with a $969 million acquisition of Waze. In other years, Google has spent anywhere from $502 million to $1.1 billion again on non-named acquisitions, supplemented by even more spending on named acquisitions.